A Beijing official urges the Hong Kong and Macau business sectors to persevere in exploring new industries and business models. Suspected food poisoning among passengers on flights from Kathmandu to Hong Kong for the second day in a row. And Donald Trump reportedly considering a declaration of national economic emergency. Hello, I'm Melissa Hekalea, and this is TVB News. The Chinese Association of Hong Kong and Macau Studies held a seminar in Beijing where participants studied President Xi Jinping's keynote speech made during the 25th anniversary of Macau's return to Chinese rule. Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office Director Xia Baolong said at the forum the one country, two systems principle has been elevated to a global level. He urged the business sectors in the two SARs to demonstrate perseverance in exploring new industries and business models. Samantha Lee reports.
Last month, President Xi Jinping attended celebrations marking the 25th anniversary of Macau's return to Chinese rule and delivered an important speech. The Chinese Association of Hong Kong and Macau Studies today held a seminar in Beijing to study the spirit of Xi's speech. Xia Baolong, director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, said President Xi highly affirmed one country, two systems, adding that the principle includes peace, inclusiveness, openness, and sharing. Xia said the three expectations and four demands that Xi laid out for Macau also applies to Hong Kong. He urged both SARs to safeguard national security while focusing on economic development. He added that under the current complicated geopolitical situation, the business sectors of Hong Kong and Macau should demonstrate their perseverance in exploring new industries and business models. Meanwhile, a seminar via video link was held in Hong Kong. The event was attended by Chief Executive John Lee and the Director of the Central Government's Liaison Office, Zheng Yanxiong. John Lee later said on social media that he will take reference from the Guangdong Macau In-Depth Cooperation Zone in Hengqin, while proactively promote developments in Qinghai, Nansha, Lok Ma Tsau Loop, and the Northern Metropolis, in order to promote economic integration in the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
Financial Secretary Paul Chan said recently the government's deficit for the current fiscal year will be below $100 billion. Two accounting firms have now forecast that the government will eventually post a deficit of over $90 billion. Academics from the University of Hong Kong said the city is facing a structural financial deficit. They said the city will need to undergo a notable transformation to overcome economic stagnation. Mimosing reports.
Financial Secretary Paul Chan will announce the new budget next month. Many people are concerned about what measures the government will take to reduce the deficit in the next fiscal year. Accounting firm PricewaterhouseCoopers estimates the current fiscal year will end up with a deficit of $94.8 billion, while the government's fiscal reserves will drop to $639.8 billion, equivalent to roughly 10 months of government expenditure. That will also be the lowest level of fiscal reserves recorded by the government. Accounting firm Ernst & Young, or EY, made a similar forecast, a deficit of $98 billion, while the fiscal reserves will fall to $637 billion. Meanwhile, the HKU Business School said a major portion of the government's deficit is structural.
We spend a lot more than we used to. That's one of the causes. And the second cause is the decline of mainly the revenue coming from the land transaction and land sales.
Yang said excessive fiscal reserves may not be a good thing.
The easiest way of paying the deficit is actually to run down the reserves. A government reserve, you can think of it as our money, but in a government account that they're going to use it for some good things for us. If they have enough money to do that, that's enough. That amount, they are not going to use it. They're going to just accumulate it. Then the purpose is different.
The academic said many countries face financial deficits.
Fiscal deficit can be short-term and the debt can absorb it. So we don't have to right away next year get fiscal surplus. Fiscal deficit can last as long as we have an good average condition for the long term.
News said people should not be too concerned about the financial deficit at this stage. Members 9, TVB News.
At least 15 people suffered suspected food poisoning after taking Cathay Pacific flights from Nepal to Hong Kong. After arriving in Hong Kong at around 3:30 a.m., 5 passengers from Cathay Pacific flight CX-640 were sent to North Lantau Hospital. On Wednesday, 10 other passengers from the same flight also suffered from food poisoning symptoms, including fever and nausea, about 10 to 30 minutes after having meals served in flight. After initial investigations, the Center for Health Protection said 9 of them had joined the same exchange trip to Nepal. Before they left the country, the group all had takeaway chicken, cucumber and tomato sandwiches with salad dressing and chips. Authorities said these sandwiches could be the source of the illness. In his quest to seek a legal basis for raising tariffs on imports, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, according to a media report, may consider declaring a national economic emergency. A CNN report cites a source as saying nothing is off the table as Trump looks to various laws at his disposal in trying to rebalance global trade in favor of the U.S. China remains in his sights for added tariffs, with the president-elect hoping to restore the U.S. standing as the world's premier industrial base. Trump takes office on January 20th. Nazvi Karim with more.
As Donald Trump started building his wall during his first term as president, his administration used the International Economic Emergency Powers Act, or IEPA, to threaten Mexico. He vowed tariffs rising up to 25% if Mexico did not rein in undocumented immigrants crossing the border into the U.S. Mexican officials rushed to Washington to negotiate a deal that would reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy, promising stronger measures to reduce illegal immigration. The threat eased. In July 2018, Trump used Section 301 on grounds of national security to slap tariffs on Chinese goods related to electric vehicles, battery parts and other items. Joe Biden has kept the tariffs in place and increased some of them. President-elect Trump is looking for ways to wield America's various laws to impose tariffs on foreign goods, and IEPA is among the tools he is eyeing. IEPA unilaterally allows the president to manage imports during a national emergency. It's a law Trump likes because of his aversion to trudging through the political quagmire to pass legislation. And IEPA lacks strict requirements to prove that the tariffs are needed on national security grounds. Another option for Trump when he takes office is Section 388 of the U.S. trade law. This authorizes the president to impose new or additional duties against countries deemed to be discriminating against the commerce of the United States. Weeks after winning the presidency for a second term, Trump said he would hit China, Mexico and Canada with new tariffs on day one of him taking office. Mexico and Canada would be subject to 25% duty on all goods, while an extra 10% would be levied on imports from China. Issues include the flow of illicit drugs and illegal immigration. To declare a national emergency, though, Trump would need proof of such a threat. Supporters of the tariffs say they are necessary to boost U.S. manufacturing. The Coalition for a Prosperous America said that Trump understands the need to rebuild the country's industrial capacity for economic and national security. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
European leaders fired back at U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's renewed interest in taking control of Greenland, the Danish-administered Arctic territory. Germany and France have said borders must not be changed by force. Greenland's local government emphasized the island's future rests solely in the hands of its residents. Danny Zhou has the story.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz led the rebukes on Wednesday, saying the expansionist remarks from the US have triggered notable incomprehension among European Union leaders. This after Donald Trump refused to rule out using US military force to seize Greenland and the Panama Canal, both of strategic importance. Scholz underscored it is a long-standing central principle of international law that borders must not be moved by force, adding that Russian President Vladimir Putin has violated the principle with his war in Ukraine. He called for unity among European nations and said members of the NATO military alliance would ramp up cooperation and enhance their defense capabilities. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot declared Greenland a European territory and warned of the resurgence of might makes right policies. Barrot said it is out of the question that the EU would let other countries attack its sovereign borders. Yet, he said, he did not believe Trump would actually invade Greenland. Brussels also stressed the importance of respecting sovereignty. A European Commission spokesperson confirmed Greenland falls under the EU's Mutual Defence Clause, which binds its members to assist one another in the event of an attack. She also downplayed Trump's remarks, dismissing it as wild hypothetical stuff. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said during a stop in Paris that Trump's bid to take over Greenland is not a good idea.
It's the idea expressed about Greenland is obviously not a good one, but maybe more important, it's obviously one that's not going to happen. So we probably shouldn't waste a lot of time talking about it.
Greenland, the world's largest island, has a population of around 60,000. It is an autonomous territory Denmark has controlled since 1814 and home to a large U.S. military base. Denmark's Prime Minister reiterated the firm stance on Greenland's sovereignty. The country's Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen said on Wednesday that the island might become independent if its residents wanted this, but is unlikely to become a U.S. state. Rasmussen signaled Denmark is open to dialogue with the incoming Trump administration to address American concerns through closer cooperation with Greenland. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
According to a report from the Financial Times, billionaire Tesla CEO Elon Musk has held private discussions with allies about removing British Prime Minister Keir Starmer from his position before the next UK general election. This comes as Musk continues to ramp up his controversial involvement with European politics, sparking concern across the continent. Daniel Rao tells us more.
According to the Financial Times report, which cited people familiar with the matter, Elon Musk, the world's richest person and a close ally of US President-elect Donald Trump, has been weighing how he and his allies can destabilize Britain's Labour government. Musk has also reportedly sought information about building support for alternative British political movements to force a change in government. One of the people was quoted as telling the FT that Musk's view is that Western civilization itself is under threat. Musk earlier accused British Prime Minister Keir Starmer of what he said was a failure to prosecute gangs of men who raped young girls when he was Director of UK Public Prosecutions between 2008 and 2013. Starmer subsequently defended his work as Britain's top prosecutor, as Musk repeatedly commented on British politics, calling on him to resign as Prime Minister. Separately, Musk is scheduled to host Alternative for Deutschland party leader Alice Weidel in a live interview on X. The Musk-endorsed German party has been labelled as right-wing extremist by the German security services. Germany is set to hold an election in February. The European Union is now grappling with how to respond to posts by Musk on his social media site X that have castigated elected leaders across the bloc. Some European governments are pressing the European Commission to use its legal arsenal against Musk's perceived interference. Dan Orell, TV News.
2 South Korean senior police officials have been indicted over their alleged roles during the short-lived imposition of martial law in early December. The two were Cho Ji-ho, Commissioner General of the National Police Agency, and Kim Bong-sik, former chief of the Seoul Metropolitan Police. They were detained and charged with engaging in essential activities for an insurrection and abuse of power. President Yoon Suk-yeol declared martial law on December 3rd, but it was blocked 6 hours later by the National Assembly. Yoon has since been impeached and is fighting for his political life. Cho is accused of ordering police to prevent lawmakers from entering the National Assembly during martial law. Kim allegedly ordered police to completely block entry to the building. The two allegedly met Yoon hours before he declared martial law. Still ahead, locally cold weather expected in the coming 2 days. And ICAC officers arrest a former senior official of the Securities and Futures Commission. Foreign Minister Wang Yi is in Chad, just as the Central African country said it had foiled an attempt to destabilize the nation. Wang Yi met Chad's President Mahamat Idris Deby and other leading officials. He said China stands ready to work with Chad to promote all-round development of their strategic partnership. China and Chad have 10 partnership action plans to help the African country in its modernization efforts. Meanwhile, a government spokesperson said the situation in Chad was under control after an attack on the presidential palace left 18 assailants dead and 6 in custody. Soldiers blocked surrounding streets in the capital, N'Djamena. He said the army neutralized what was described as a terrorist attack. And back locally, the cold weather warning is now in force. Weather authorities said the minimum temperature will be 11 to 12 degrees Celsius in the urban areas on Friday and Saturday. The observatory said an intense winter monsoon is gradually affecting inland Guangdong. Temperatures over Hong Kong are expected to drop overnight, and winds will be occasionally strong on high ground. Frost may also appear in inland areas of the new territories and on high ground over the weekend. Weather authorities urged local residents to take measures to keep warm during the cold snap. The Independent Commission Against Corruption has arrested a former Senior Securities and Futures Commission official. Deng Yingxia, a former associate director of the SFC, has been charged with allegedly providing advice to suspects in an SFC investigation into suspected market manipulation. Among the alleged pieces of advice given were how the concerned individuals should conduct themselves during the probe. Deng, who is 48, has been released on bail pending an appearance in the Eastern Magistrates' Courts tomorrow. Next Digital founder Jimmy Lai continued to take the stand to defend himself in his national security trial. On day 117 of the trial at the West Kowloon courts, a video of Lai's talk show from November 2020 was played in the courtroom. In the video, Lai told former U.S. Army General Jack Keane that the incoming Biden administration could no longer use the Obama administration's policy of appeasement towards China. Keane said there is no one in the world who's more capable of speaking to U.S. leaders and the American people than Lai. Lai told the court today that what Keane said was an exaggeration, but he admitted he did speak to American leaders and congressional members back in July 2019. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.